FM News Talk 97.1. On-demand audio.
I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm a social conservative. I think we've seen that in order for the Republican Party to succeed, we need to be a big tent. We need to embrace American values that have been present in our country, have been present in every small town, every small business, every family for centuries. There are some who say the Republican Party should no longer stand for life. I don't agree with them. There are some who say the Republican Party should no longer stand for traditional marriage. I don't agree with them either. I think we should continue to defend our shared values.
One of the things that I like about what Senator Ted Cruz says is that you don't have to water down your principles in order to achieve electoral victory, which I feel that the Republican Party, not just myself, but many others, I mean, you saw 3 million Republicans stayed home last election. The party has been doing for quite some time. It could be a saving grace for it to stop doing that. Senator Ted Cruz joins us now to discuss this, Ukraine, and a few other issues. Senator, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Dana. It's always great to join you.
It's good to speak with you. It's refreshing to hear a fight against watering down of principles that should be and should continue to be part of the Republican platform going forward. But I realize there's been this push, even amongst some of your colleagues in the Senate, to water these down and make us more like the people against whom we're running in order to be, more palatable to the voters, which I don't think that would work.
Dana, you're exactly right. There are a lot of folks in Washington who say there's a choice between either standing for principle or getting elected. And I think that's a false dichotomy. If you look at what actually works, the way you win elections is by standing for principle. If you look, for example, at the last 4 congressional cycles, 2006, 2008, 2010, 2012, 3 of those 4, 06, 08, and 12, we followed the Washington strategy. Republicans kept their heads down. They didn't rock the boat. They didn't stand for much of anything. We got clobbered. The only race that was successful was 2010 when the Tea Party rose up. We drew a line in the sand. We said we're going to fight to repeal every single word of Obamacare. We're going to stop this out-of-control spending and debt. We're going to defend the Constitution. And we won an historic, epic tidal wave of an election. And what all the Washington consultants say? Let's go back to what we did in 06, 08, and 12. It worked so badly there, we're going to do it again. That's not how you win. You win by giving people a reason to show up and vote and turn the country around.
Absolutely. And it's resonating apparently with some. I'm sure that I know you've seen the posters of yourself all tatted up when you were out speaking at the Beverly Hilton. There's video now going out where your face is superimposed over people like Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings, like Steve McQueen and all of these people. What do you make of those videos and posters?
Well, if I were to sit down and make a list of things I thought I would never see, that poster would be real up near the top of the list. But I will say this. I think it's a manifestation of something incredible that's happening, which is the rise of the grassroots. As I understand it, that poster was designed by a street artist in L.A., a conservative who did it on his own. We didn't know anything about it. And he felt the urge to exercise his First Amendment rights to stand up and speak and express his views. And people all across the country are doing that. And that is what gives me optimism. Listen, Washington, if we count on Washington, we'll never turn this country around. But what gives me optimism is people all over the country, millions of men and women, are doing exactly like that street artist. They're standing up and speaking out, and they're saying, we got to get back to our Constitution, back to freedom. And that's the only thing that can turn this country around is the American people rising up and making D.C. listen.
And they're doing that on common ground, especially over the issue of school choice. I know that you've been in Iowa. You've been talking religious liberty with homeschoolers especially. You've said that school choice is the civil rights issue of the 21st century. Elaborate on that.
Well, I think that's right. If you look at education is foundational to every other challenge we've got. If a child gets an education, hope and opportunity is opened up to that child. The American dream becomes a real possibility. And if a child doesn't get a quality education, that child is so often foreclosed from having a chance at the American dream. Every other challenge we've got in society, whether it's crime, whether it's poverty, whether it's health issues. If you get an education, many of those issues will take care of themselves. If you don't get an education, like night follows day, many of those challenges will follow. And school choice is all about giving every child in America the opportunity to get a quality education. In my view, that shouldn't just be an opportunity for the wealthy kids. Every child, regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of zip code or income, should have a fair shot at a quality education. And school choice is all about giving low-income kids the same choices the rich and middle class have always had. And I believe in all of the above. I believe in public schools. I believe in charter schools. I believe in private schools. I believe in parochial schools. I believe in scholarships and vouchers and homeschooling and every option possible so that we can help every child have the opportunity to achieve the American dream.
Yes. Amongst these issues that you are very passionate about, which school choice, as a homeschooler, I really value school choice, and I think that so much common ground can be made up on that. On the issue of foreign policy, you've drawn your own line in the sand over Ukraine. Your thoughts on the administration handling of the escalating situation in Ukraine, as well as the concept of peace through strength?
Well, the administration has so badly bungled Ukraine and has so badly bungled foreign policy for the last 5 years. Putin's aggression, his act of war against Ukraine, is a direct consequence of the lack of U.S. leadership over the last 5 years. And as America has receded from leadership in the world, into that vacuum has stepped countries like Russia and Iran and China. And the world has become a much, much more dangerous place. In my view, America should, number one, be a clarion voice for freedom. We should be speaking out with absolute clarity and support of the brave men and women who were standing in the blistering cold in Kiev, protesting to be free, bleeding and bloodied and battered, but standing to be free because they don't want to be subject to domination by Putin's Russia. They want to be with the West, with Europe, with America. And the voice of the president can speak with clarity, as Reagan demonstrated when he said, tear down this wall. Sadly, this administration, this president doesn't speak with that clarity. Likewise, in Venezuela, you have protesters standing on the streets seeking to be free, and yet Maduro is sending in Cuban troops to murder those protesters, and this president is all but silent. But in addition to speaking, there is action we can take. Now, listen, no rational person wants to see military conflict with Russia. But there's a great deal we could do that doesn't involve military conflict, and two steps in particular that I think are critical. Number one, with respect to Russia, we ought to immediately install the anti-ballistic missile batteries in Eastern Europe that were scheduled to go into effect and that Obama canceled in an effort to appease Putin. That appeasement failed, and we should carry through on that commitment and begin withdrawing from the New START treaty as well. And then secondly, with respect to Ukraine, we can help the people of Ukraine by signing a free trade agreement with them and beginning to export liquid natural gas and helping them develop infrastructure to free them from the economic blackmail from Russia.
Right. I don't mean to interrupt you, Senator. We're up against a hard break. I really quickly, I want to ask you, A, are you still friends with Senator Rand Paul? And B, I'm sure you've seen the PAC, Run, Ted, Run. Your answer?
Well, absolutely. I love Rand Paul. He is a good friend. He is a tremendous voice for liberty, and I'm proud to stand with Rand.